Hi, guys, and welcome to The Long Lost Explorer. Today, we are going to be talking to David Drinkill, who is also the host of the Tokyo Fresh podcast. I'm excited to talk about Tokyo. I heard there's a lot of crazy stuff over there, and so I really want to dive into it. But before, also, please check me out on Apple, Spotify, and everything else that you could think of. I also just got on my new platform, which is pornhub.com. I also uploaded my videos over there. Yes, I'm not even kidding. And I've gotten a lot of views and a lot of likes and subscribers from it.
Wait,
It's
wait. Are
blowing
you,
my
are you
mind.
serious?
I'm 100% serious. Yeah,
Is it
I've
just to
been
avoid copyright?
no, it's just everything. I just been uploading it to everything. I'm just getting crazy with it. I've been getting
Don't
a
give
lot
me
of
ideas.
views.
Don't give me
Yeah.
ideas. I got 32 episodes I could put somewhere.
There are a lot of people that actually upload their stuff to just normal content on Pornhub, and they're actually making money by doing it. I heard it,
Damn.
I
Wow.
overheard it, and I'm doing it. So please follow me and subscribe, even if it's on Pornhub. If you want to go into something a little bit more softcore, please check out my channel. So again, I want to introduce and give a big round of applause to David Drinkill. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Dude, it's
It's been, man. Yesterday night was an absolute garbage night. Actually, no, it was great. I went out with my friend for kaiten sushi, or like a conveyor belt sushi.
oh,
We went
okay,
out
yeah.
about 6. Look up the sky. It's completely clear. There's no clouds. We leave it like 8. It's literally a typhoon and it's raining. I'm like, I didn't bring an umbrella, and I'm like 20 minutes walk from home. So I get
I
home. I look like I jumped in a pool.
yeah, I heard there's like monsoons and stuff like around that area.
Yeah.
Is
So
that
we
right? Yeah.
just we just finished Sfisken, which is like rainy season.
Mm-hmm.
So now me and my friend joke that we are now in summer 2, the sequel to Summer 1, which is in,
Mm-hmm.
in between rainy season. Because it rained. This year was really, really long. It had rained for like almost an entire month nonstop.
Mm-hmm. Oh
It's
wow.
the absolute worst. Going to work every single day and it's just raining. You get super depressed because you don't see the sun.
Yeah, and it's what's funny is I have a few friends that are from Okinawa.
Oh,
A lot of military, of course, that's going to be around over there, and they're talking about how some of the crazy rains that we have in America, and they're like, I did not know what rain was until I went over
hmm
there. It
oh
was
yeah,
just
yeah,
a
yeah.
different
It's the
ball
same
game.
way for me too.
Yeah.
It,
Do
I got
do buildings
snow.
collapse because of it?
It depends. Well, it's not so much. I think that buildings collapse. It's Japan is really mountainous, and a lot of
Hmm.
areas it'll just rain so much that the mountains will have like mudslides and stuff, and it'll just
Oh, yeah,
wipe
yeah,
out
yeah.
town. So, like I think a couple of years ago, maybe it was 4 or 5 years ago, Kumamoto on Kyushu, the very southernmost. If you're not going to Okinawa, but the most southernmost island, Kumamoto got absolutely destroyed, just flooded, mudslides wiping out entire houses. Yeah, it was bad.
Jesus. Yeah. I have experienced like some bad rains over in China. I have not been to Japan yet, but yeah, I've been to certain places where I'm like, wow, we think, the winds are, crazy here, or like
hmm
the rain is really bad and stuff, but a lot of other countries, they just think it's normal, and it seems like hell on earth, like,
Yeah.
compared to what I'm used to and stuff. One of the most important questions that I really want to ask you is, in the Tokyo community, how mad or happy were they when they discovered that Tokyo Drift was coming out?
When Tokyo Drift was coming out, um, I imagine that it was probably, people don't get mad here. They just get mildly annoyed, but they stay mildly annoyed for like 5 years after the fact.
Yeah.
So I believe, if I remember correctly, Tokyo Drift is filmed in Shibuya Crossing, or like part of it was filmed at Shibuya Crossing. I
Okay.
think Shibuya Crossing is immediately outside of Shibuya Station, which is, I think, the second busiest station in Japan, and
Hmm.
like maybe top 5 in the world, right?
Yeah.
So to have them be like, okay, we're shutting down this entire area, everyone go home, we don't want to see you. It's like, I gotta go to work. I
Yeah.
can't just like go to another station and walk for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that people were probably pretty pissed off because one, it would be loud because
Hmm.
you just have streetcars ripping through Shibuya's crossing all the time. Two, they probably filmed for like months.
Oh yeah.
So I could imagine that was extremely annoying. It's like now I have to walk 30 more extra minutes to go to work at my
Yeah.
job that I already hate.
Yeah. Is there any truth to any of that? Or is it just, is there any drifting? Is there any underground like racing culture there?
I'm sure there probably is, but I don't run in those circles, so I don't really know. Actually,
Mm.
funny thing is though, so my our podcast is called Tokyo Fresh. There is actually another thing called Tokyo Fresh Car Meet, which is all about just like not import cars. What do they call it? Tuner cars.
Yeah. Tune up car. Yeah. And all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I found after I named the podcast. I'm like, whoops. So well,
Yeah.
whatever. We'll copyright that real quick and then have no problem.
Exactly. Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before about your originally you were from Canada and going over there and stuff. So uh tell me about your adventure. Like how did you go from point A to point B?
The point A to point B. I think I was a younger when I was a younger kid, I have two older cousins, and they're like considerably older than me. They're maybe like 7 to 10 years older than me.
Hmm.
And I remember when I was a kid, my one cousin was like super interested in anime. But back then, this was the 90s, so finding anime anywhere in North America was hard. They're
Hmm.
nigh non-existent. And I remember he would take me with him to go to like swap meets where people would take like bootleg Hong Kong VHS tapes of anime that someone's like double decked in a thing to put subtitles on it and just go and trade them.
I remember
So
that.
I watched a lot of like early anime way before it ever aired on TV in Canada. So
Mhm.
I'm going to school in like 8th grade looking like Nostradamus because I know what happens on Dragon Ball the next week.
Yeah.
How do you know that? How do you know
Yeah.
that Cell can do this? Yeah.
If you were smart, you
So,
should have placed some bets. Be like, oh
oh
yeah, I
yeah.
know this character is gonna die, so I'll bet you $50 or
I'll bet you $50. Yeah. In hindsight, probably would have been good.
yeah.
But so eventually both of those cousins ended up coming to Japan to teach English. So it's kind of like I'm like the third one to come here and do that. I think I'll probably be the one who stays the longest, more than likely.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've just it's always been kind of in my like life growing up. And I went
Mhm.
to university for I took I'm an actual certified teacher, whereas some people here aren't. They've done some other degree. But my major is in world history, specifically Japanese history. My minor is in Japanese language. It's
Mhm.
like I've really kind of focused in on getting here. And now that I'm here, I think I'm probably going to stay for quite a while.
Oh yeah, I know quite a few people that have just made the jump from England, Canada and America and stuff, and it's I used to kind of make fun of those people a little bit because I'm just like, you're in this country, why are you so obsessed with this other country? You only been a few times and stuff like that. But when I traveled to Russia, I just felt I gained this huge fascination by it, and I want to go there. I love it so much. Just anything Russian related, I just get is so intrigued by it. So I understand now. So my younger
Right.
self is probably going to be making fun of me for thinking like that and stuff. But I understand it now, and it is like such a cool thing and stuff. So I don't hate on people like going and doing that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I was definitely growing up. I was definitely like, he's the Japan guy, right?
Yeah,
But
the weird anime
really,
guy.
because nobody else cared but me. So I just never
Hmm.
talked about it. But then
Hmm.
everyone would just keep bringing it up to me and they're like, oh, but David, you love Japan. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Stop.
Yeah,
Like, you don't care. So why would I want to talk to you about it? Just
yeah.
stop.
I think we just think it's like kind of weird and stuff. You're just
Mhm.
like you're that unique guy. There's probably no one that went to your school or whatever that was
Oh, God, no.
like got into it and stuff like that. You probably had some friends and stuff that probably like related to it and stuff, but
Yeah.
like they're
I mean,
probably yeah.
I grew up in a really small town, like maybe like 2,000 people
Oh
max.
oh oh yeah.
So like, yeah, I'm the only dude who's watching anime on the weekend. Everyone's like, let's go play baseball or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
So
I'm
so
good.
now you move to probably one of the most condensed areas in the world.
Yeah. Ironically, the country kid is actually a city boy.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so so how the first time that you went to Japan, what was like your reaction? Were you overwhelmed?
Uh, yeah, actually, I went when I was in 11th grade, and I
Mhm.
went because my cousin was living here in West Tokyo. So West Tokyo is kind of like it's like the opposite end from the airport. So if you got on the train at Narita and go all the way to West Tokyo, you go across the entire city. So for me, who is used to driving a car for 30 minutes to get to the next closest city to go shopping for like groceries or something, driving for 30 minutes or riding a train faster than a car for 30
Mhm.
minutes through just non-stop city. Like and it's like condensed, like packed city. There's
Mhm.
like 15 homes in like a tiny block of land, and just seeing that for an hour and a half, it's like wow. Like I had no idea, no concept of what an actual big city was.
Yeah. Yeah, I have seen I the closest I've like kind of seen to it that kind of gave me a little bit of anxiety was Hong Kong. And it is pretty dense. I don't think it's nearly as dense as Tokyo. I
Mhm.
don't know if you've been over to Hong Kong, but but still, well, just with the amount of houses and buildings just kind of stacked up like crazy, and the amount of
Yeah.
people that even if you walk into like a subway and it just everybody is walking 10 miles faster than any American or probably any Canadian. They walk so fast. That's what I've noticed. At least I might
I
be
have
wrong
the
about
opposite
Japanese.
problem here.
You have the
I have
opposite problem?
the opposite problem. People walk so slow.
Really? Oh, that's funny.
So slow. It is my number one pet peeve in this country.
Oh,
People
really?
walking slow because not only do they walk slow, they'll walk in front of you and then you'll try and get past them, but they'll walk like this. So like the second
uh
you try and get past them, they walk in front of you and you're just like
it,
I want to kick you down the stairs.
yeah, I wonder if Chinese and Japanese are different like that because
Yeah.
I mean I don't feel like I'm necessarily a super slow walker, but everywhere around the subways and the buses and everything like that, they're speed walking like crazy, and it just
Mhm.
and another thing too. I don't know if Japan is like this as well, but everybody in Hong Kong smoked, and it was disgusting. I was just I would go walk to, I don't know, maybe a couple miles or kilometers, and I would just be covered in cigarette smoke. Is that the case
Mm.
for you over there?
So it was like that when I first came to Japan in high school.
Hmm.
Everyone smoked, but now they've really like hammered down on it. So now you can only smoke in designated smoking areas. Like
I
if you
see.
are not in that area, you cannot smoke. The police will give you guff for it.
Give you a fine for it.
Yeah. So like outside of like station, it's really weird. Outside of stations, they'll have like this like fenced off area or just a smoking area.
Yeah.
So a train lets out and people leave the station and like 20, 30 people just all go into this fenced area and all light up cigarettes at the same time. And you just see out of this box just this pillar of tobacco smoke coming out the top.
Oh my God, that's great.
So
Um,
in Japan, they used to have like at family restaurants too. You used to be able to smoke anywhere. Then
I mean,
they made
America
like
was like that a little bit
they made
too.
like a specific room after, and now it's just gone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they probably had that negative ventilation
Yeah.
that was just
Yes.
like kind of pushing it out and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I've seen those like at airports now. You probably noticed it at your
Mm.
airports too. There's a little glass chamber where you could just basically
Yeah.
smoke and
A
stuff like that.
Futurama tube.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think those are kind of cool. I don't think there are any in the USA yet. I don't know if it's because of like our laws and stuff like that. But speaking of the rules and the laws and kind of the flexibility of just like the the markets over there and everything else, what kind of shocked you of some of the things that you were allowed to do over there that would definitely not be allowed over in like Canada or
Uh,
US?
there's one that's very specific to Japan. I don't know any other country that will let you do it with such abandon. Is just
Hmm.
drinking alcohol in uncovered things outside at any time, whenever.
Oh, really? So it's just like the biggest strip everywhere?
They don't care. Yep, they don't care.
Oh,
I've seen
interesting.
I've seen salaryman going to school, not going to school, going to work in the morning, and there's this thing in Japan called Strong Zero, and it's been affectionately nicknamed by foreign immigrants as the Gaijin killer. So
Okay.
basically, it's a 9% alcohol drink, and you can buy it at every convenience store for like 150 yen. So it's like a buck 50,
Okay.
and it's like a tall boy can, right?
Yeah.
So you drink one of these, and you are done.
Really?
It's like the equivalent of like I think I read there's an article that came out. It's like the equivalent of 4 tequila shots.
Oh, Jesus.
So you
That
drink one of
reminds me of
these,
just like kind of like a big 40, like a malt
yeah,
liquor still reserve like
exactly.
type of thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very similar, but you can drink it like juice because they flavor it like fruit. So you
Oh,
can just
okay.
pound them down, no problem. So a lot of people who come, they don't know what it is, so they're like, oh, 9%, I can get really hammered off this, right? So
Hmm.
they'll buy like 4, and then just slam 4 of them, and then 20 minutes later they're in the gutter because they can't move, and they're just done.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Oh
you
my
see
God.
it a lot with like people who just come here. Like it's got to a point where it's almost a practical joke that people who have been living here for a while be like, oh yeah, just have like 2 or 3 of these and just get people just absolutely hammered and they can't walk.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Do you see a lot of public intoxication
Oh yeah, all the time.
all the time?
Me and my friend, we joke that Japan is a country of alcoholics, and you spend time here and you just go, yep, that's true,
Really?
100%, because everything you do in this country is like a very communal thing, right? And what is
Yeah.
more communal than getting drunk?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So, it's like for me, like I work at a school. It's like, okay, we're going to have a school meeting. What do? We go drink. You're going to meet my
Hmm.
friends. What do? We go drink.
Yeah.
Do anything, drink. Right? So there would be times I think in my first year when I came here where I was out drinking almost every night a
Hmm.
week. And just like there's a cultural thing of like if a Japanese person sees your cup is like empty or like you've taken a sip out of it, they have to fill it.
Fill it
It's
up.
it's a
Yeah.
cultural thing that they have to do. So here's you're drinking your beer and you get like drunk, right? And then you start to not notice that this is happening. So you go,
Hmm.
oh, my beer is full still. Got to drink more. Take another one, put it down, talk to someone for 5 minutes, look back, it's full again. And you go, that was weird. What? I don't know how
Yeah.
that happens. You just keep pounding back, and then by then you're just done.
Do you think maybe you're just like the white guy that they're just telling you that's the actual rule, but in
Oh
reality,
no,
it's not the rule?
it is 100% that is the rule.
Yeah.
When you when
Uh,
you when you end a night with like your principal at karaoke, and you're like, arm in arm with your principal from your school singing karaoke, and you're just having a good time, and then you show up on Monday, and it's like business as usual, like that never happened.
yeah.
You had a good night.
Oh, damn. And but I'm assuming you're not allowed to drink at work or anything like that. I'm
Oh God,
assuming that.
no.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's so weird because like everywhere else, it's like totally okay. You drink at work, it's like you're fired, done, get
Oh,
out.
oh, really? So
Yeah,
it's like work hard, play hard.
kind of, yeah. It
Yeah.
is. It's very black and white how some laws are viewed. It's like
Hmm.
you just don't do this, and if you do it, done. Like
Yeah.
there's no 3 strike policy. It's over.
So when it comes to even like the food and stuff like that, were you shocked at like all the different varieties of things that were over there? Because Americans, we just think Japan just basically has like hundreds of different varieties when it comes to everything, vending machines, food,
Yeah.
and everything else. Like, were you kind of thrown back by like all the different like food availabilities? Do you miss
Um,
your old food, or do you like the
Not at
new?
all.
Oh,
Zero
really?
percent. 0%. And I'll tell you why. Japan is a very it's very like artisan culture where if someone is going to be like a chef, right? Say they
Yeah.
want to be like a sushi chef, they're going to be the best damn sushi chef they can be. Like,
Mm,
but that's the only thing they do. So they just work for that, and that will be
gotcha.
it. So when you go out to a restaurant, typically, I would say honestly, I've been here 4 years. I've never had a bad meal ever.
Hmm.
Like, not once. I've never had to complain. I've never been like, this sucks. Like, it's bad. Like, take it away. I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
Never happened. And that's because Japan has a very stringent like service culture. They don't take tips. So like they don't have to worry about, oh, I have to treat you nice because if you don't pay me, I don't eat, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're just going to give you the best service they can give you because that's what that is expected of them.
Okay. But that's really cool. That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like you go to some general American restaurants and stuff, we're serving everything from burgers to fried chicken and this whole variety of stuff and the cook needs to know how to do all of them. But
Mm-hmm.
but over there it's just like you stick to sushi, you stick to ramen
Yeah,
or
there
whatever
there
it
is
is and
stuff.
stuff.
There is stuff like family restaurants.
Mhm.
Like Jonathan's is one, Caesarea, Denny's,
Oh,
and
they
they'll
have
serve
Denny's
you.
over there.
They'll give you, you can buy your ice cream, you can buy your hamburger, you can buy whatever,
Yeah.
right? But like it's kind of like those three really.
Mhm.
It,
Gotcha.
and then everything else is like, if you want to go to sushi, you go to a sushi shop. If you want a hamburger, you go to a hamburger shop. If you want yakitori, you go to yakitori, and that's all they sell at that place. The end.
Interesting. But I'm really curious why it seems like Japan is just so crazy with their varieties. Like I've been seeing things like on their vending machines and just everything else and their flavors and everything else. Like,
Oh,
are they
okay.
just
Yeah,
like,
I know what you
fuck
mean.
it and just, and they just like, let's throw everything on there and let's see what sticks.
I think like so Japan, as far as like products, and this is again another joke you'll hear from people who live here, is Japan has four distinct seasons. You'll if you're in Japan long enough and someone knows like minimal Japanese and you ask them like, what season do you like, and they're like, oh well, Japan has four distinct seasons, and they'll tell you this. And the reason they tell you this is, one, they don't know enough English, but two is that um in Japan, they have a load of seasonal items that only come out at specific times in the year.
Hmm.
So like right now, it's summertime, so you'll get like, there's like specific flavors that only come out at certain times. Like
Hmm.
mint chocolate chip, the flavor mint chocolate chip, you can only get in wintertime. Why? That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Like if you like mint chocolate ice cream, well, too bad for you, dude. You gotta wait till winter.
Wow. That's so
And it's
weird.
it's like that for everything. I mean, literally
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And there's no reason why like, do you think they export it? They're just like trying to
No,
get some Americans or
I'm
anything?
not sure why. There must be like this weird like old cultural reason where like maybe only certain things grew at certain times in the year. So like, oh,
Uh,
this is a seasonal thing. So there's something in Japanese convenience stores that they only sell in winter called oden, which is like fish cakes in like fish soup broth.
yeah, I love
And
fish cakes. I know what that is.
and
Yeah.
it only comes out in winter. So
Hmm.
the the joke is, the second that you walk into a convenience store and you see oden, winter started, because
That's so funny.
it only comes out from this time to this time. It's like, oh, it got
Hmm.
just this cold, so we'll put the oden out.
Wow, that's that's so weird. Do they have like a different do they have a lot of different variety of activities and things to do like compared to the US? Are there a lot of like weird cool things that aren't common necessarily in the US when it comes to like going out and activities and stuff?
Um, I think for it's weird because I think back to when I lived in Canada and it's like, what would I do with my friends, right?
Yeah.
And I would just play games, right? That's all we did, because we didn't want to go outside during winter for sure. It's super cold.
Yeah.
But we just play games. But here, it's like, you call up your friend and you ask, what do you want to do today? It's like, oh, let's go to karaoke. Let's go to, round one, and you can go to like bowling, or,
Hmm.
you can go to a bar and do whatever, right? Because it helps that everything is condensed. So you
Yeah.
can just kind of pick and choose what you want to do. But the variety, I think, is one, just because there's so many people in the city, you need to have different things to do for different
Hmm.
people. Like there's a market kind of for everyone
Yeah.
to do something. So it it works to have like a big mix of stuff. Like, for example, I love going to the batting cage. There wasn't no batting cage in Canada.
Yeah.
That just didn't exist, right?
Yeah.
But like it's stuff like that. I can just go, oh, what do I want to do today? I'm gonna go to Shibuya and go to like the 52nd floor of a building to go to the batting cage because it's
Hmm.
fun and I can just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, some of the activities are really high up as well, in like high up buildings, instead of
Mm,
everything being ground level or on the second floor.
yeah.
They're all in these like super high buildings and stuff. Yeah, I see the tennis courts, some of the soccer fields and stuff that are just
Mm.
like on top and stuff. And that's really like fascinating and cool to see. I would love to go on one of them eventually, but
It's definitely interesting. I feel like too. I think this is a mistake that some people do make when they come to Japan though. They'll come to Japan and they'll never leave Tokyo. And that's fine. I understand why, because Tokyo's big and there's a lot to do. But I feel that for me personally, as far as traveling goes, I think maximum, like if you're gonna spend time in Japan, you should spend maybe like a couple days, 4 days in Tokyo. Go to the things that you really want to see,
Mhm.
then leave Tokyo to go somewhere else or somewhere close.
Yeah.
Go to oh, why am I blanking on the name? I live there. Yokohama. Go to
Yeah.
Yokohama. Go to like the Chinatown there, because the Chinatown here is huge and it's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, you can go to Kamakura, which has all the old temples and stuff, or even take a bullet train. It takes a bullet train 2 hours to go from here to Osaka, and it's a
Mhm.
very different place, right? So
Yeah.
if you really wanted to, you could first day you come, book a Shinkansen ticket for the bullet train, go on like your fifth day in the morning at like 8 a.m. You get there at 10,
Mhm.
day one day, come back the next, and you've gone to a completely different city in the span of 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
think a
that's
lot of people just stick in Tokyo.
yeah, I could see how that is a trap. And for me, I've never been necessarily like the big city guy. Like I like going and visiting and stuff, but I don't like spending too much time. I think
Mm,
what you pick up more when you I mean, for me, what I like to pick up more is like the cultural aspect, like the deep rooted cultural aspects of going to like the villages and the smaller cities and
yeah,
stuff. I feel like are sometimes more fascinating than actually just going to like the big, the biggest, coolest bar in Tokyo, for
right.
example, and stuff.
Yeah,
It's more humbling.
my co-host, he travels a lot because of work, and
Mhm.
he's like adamant, like if you come to Japan, don't go to Tokyo.
Yeah.
Go to like Kochi in the middle of nowhere on like Shikoku,
Hmm.
and you'll meet people that you would have never met. Like you'll be one of the maybe 10 foreigners that they've seen in like 5 years, right?
Yeah.
You'll have a completely different cultural experience than you would if you go to Tokyo, where they see a foreigner every day.
Yeah. And they're probably really nice to you and they're very welcoming over there, huh?
Yeah. Oh, there's Japanese people are super nice. I say that with an asterisk, but
Yeah.
yeah.
um where I was just gonna say something. Shoot. Oh yeah, your language. So do a lot of people speak English over there?
As far as Japanese people,
Yes.
I hesitate to say yes,
Hmm.
just because almost everyone I interact with, I speak Japanese. So
Hmm.
I'm never there testing them, being like, do you know English? I'll
Yeah.
talk to them in Japanese, and that's not an issue.
Yeah.
But I would say the younger generation is getting better at
More
English.
education's going into it.
Yeah. The older generation, they're so far gone, it's like, well,
Yeah,
what
what's
are
the
you gonna
point?
do?
Yeah.
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 Do how good is your Japanese? How well do you speak it?
I speak it okay enough to survive.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna go out here and be like, yeah, I'm fluent, because that's that's
You're
just a
probably
lie.
yeah, you're probably gonna get some listeners to be like, this idiot
Right.
knows
This
nothing.
idiot
Yeah.
doesn't know anything. Doesn't know
Yeah.
his laws from his gauze. What does he know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you feel like the rate that you're learning at is like exponential compared to like someone who is studying it like hardcore over in like the States? Do you feel like you actually interacting is helping improve your language a lot more because you're
Um,
immersed into it?
it's a bit weird for me, because I studied in university. I studied for 3 years,
Hmm.
taking Japanese, and then I moved here. So I think that the perception for me is a little bit different, because when I came, I already knew Japanese. So my rate of acquisition is a lot slower because I've already
Mhm.
covered all the basics.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of building it up and fine tuning it to get to that level of fluency.
Mhm.
But people don't speak a lick of Japanese. There's two kind of people that move here. There's the people that will never learn Japanese, and then the people that will become fluent.
Yeah.
There's
Gotcha.
almost no in between. And
Yeah.
I think
They
that
have
the
Google
people,
Translate and they're just
yeah,
like,
why,
screw it.
yeah,
Yeah.
why do I need anything else? The people who will study, I think their perception will be like, oh yeah, once I moved to Japan, my language ability went up like a lot, like very rapidly. And it's like, yes, of course it did, because you knew zero. So of
Yeah.
course, anything quicker than that, you're going to be like, wow, I'm a genius now.
Yeah.
But there's so many things. For me, I'm kind of at a plateau where it's I'm not getting better, I'm not getting worse, I'm just kind of staying the same.
Mhm.
And this happens in language acquisition, kind of for any language. You get to this plateau and you're like, how I don't know how to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm sitting, where I'm functional enough that I can get around, but I'm not where if I needed to talk about a technical subject, I'm like, oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, when it comes to Russian, I feel like I'm just getting lazy a little bit. It's like, I mean, obviously I'm in the States, so it's hard for me. It's different when I go to Russia, but
Mm.
since I haven't been there in so long, I'm just like, I just don't care. So you need that like constant challenge, and if you don't
Right.
have it, you just become complacent, kind of
Yeah, if
within
you
your
if you
language.
don't use it, you will lose it. Like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
simple as that.
Yeah, and I think that's why I want to spend a lot of time there as well. So, or just even in just Slavic countries as well, so I
Yeah.
could keep getting challenged. Like I want to put down the phone, don't look at translate, and just try the best I can and stuff. Because most people, I don't know about Japanese, but most people that I've ran into when I'm trying to speak Russian or even any other language, Spanish, they've been pretty nice about it.
Yeah.
I know you're saying that like the Japanese get like a little annoyed and frustrated. Are they pretty patient when it comes to you trying to speak?
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
They, I think if it's evident that you're trying and they themselves know, okay, I don't know English, so I feel your pain. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to help carry
they're
you, and like,
yeah,
yeah.
they're quite nice. Yeah, I've never had an issue where someone's just been like, get out of here. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
talk to you, right? That's never ever
Yeah.
happened. But uh I think for the most part, yeah, they're pretty accommodating.
hmm Do you think it's harder understanding rather than speaking or vice versa?
Um I feel for me, understanding is not so bad. Speaking is hard. It's
Interesting.
um I personally have like an eidetic memory. So I see everything in like a snapshot picture, right?
Yeah. hmm
So for me, speaking is hard because
Gotcha.
if I don't have that picture of what this word means or what this kanji is or whatever, the
Yeah.
recall is just not there. So I'll
hmm
get into a conversation where I'll just go, no, no,
Yeah.
これが
Yeah.
scissors? Yes, yes, scissors. Yes, that's what I
Yeah.
was talking about.
Yeah.
It'll happen a lot, but my other friend, he can speak great, can't
Yeah.
read at all. Where I
Okay.
can read really well, but speaking is not so great.
Do Canadians and Americans kind of lump together and just stick together? Like when they're in Japan, do they find each other and just like, hey, we're friends, we're kind of let's struggle together, like as we're in this country?
So I think on the one hand, yeah, because you look for people that you want to speak your native language with, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
of course.
it. You remove that issue from the thing. But a lot of people who are coming over to be English teachers. So you're all working at the same company. So I know, like,
Mm,
for me, when I started, I knew people from the UK, I knew people from Canada, Jamaica, America, like basically anywhere, the Philippines, anywhere that spoke English.
yeah.
So I've met them all. And then you kind of just you figure out who you like, who you don't ever want to talk to again, and then you just kind of make your own group.
hmm Yeah.
I feel like happens quite a bit.
Yeah, but I feel like I feel like this is true for every country, even American, Canada and stuff. But when you have foreigners come into a group or a setting and stuff like that, you get a lot of people that are interested and that want to become friends with you and like hang out with you and stuff like that. Do you feel like you got a lot of that when you came?
Like Japanese people wanting to be
Yeah,
like, hey,
just
let's.
yeah, the actual people from Tokyo like coming and talking to you and
Yes.
yeah.
I do have a story about this. So near my house is a yakiniku restaurant, so like a Korean barbecue.
Hmm.
So I went with my co-host, uh, and we sat down. And then across from us is like two girls and two guys. They look like they're on a date, right?
Hmm.
And we're just kind of talking to each other in English as we're going to sit down. And the two guys in the chair see us, and immediately they start talking about like how they studied in Australia. They know English, so we sit
Hmm.
down at our booth, and immediately I say to my friend, by the end of this night, that man is going to be sitting here next to you, talking to you about your about
Yeah.
stuff. Sure enough, we're sitting there eating. He comes over and he just goes, "Do you like Japanese meat though?" And we just like look at this guy like, yeah, like we're eating, you not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it,
But
it happens all the time. It happens a lot more to my friend because he's black and has an afro. So people are like, oh, what is that?
oh yeah. And is that kind of weird for him as well being black in
at,
Japan?
at this point, I think he takes it in stride. He's just like, people are weird, and I look weird to them. I'm
Hmm.
like probably the maybe third black person they've ever seen, and of course I have an afro, so I'm instantly like, oh, can I touch your hair because it's
Yeah.
weird. I'm gonna
So it's
touch
just
it.
more of an interesting thing, not like,
Yeah,
ew, who
it's
are
not
you and
it's
stuff
not
like, yeah.
disrespectful,
Hmm.
but there is stuff that in this country, there's like that the micro aggression racism that you get on the daily, and you're just like, I'm so sick of this crap.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, there certain a lot of people talk about like racism in Canada and the US. There's a lot of racism in Asia.
Oh,
And
tons.
it's tons, but it's just like it's kind of normal. Like imagine if it was like 70s America and stuff. It's just like
Hmm.
very subtle and it like no one kind of gave a shit about it. No one was really
No.
freaking out about it. It's just they shrugged it off. White people were getting called this, Mexicans were getting called
Yeah.
that, Asians were getting called that and stuff. And so it was just kind of like whatever. So everything's like so hypersensitive. So
Hmm.
sometimes, like obviously we want to have like a sensitivity to it and we don't think it's good and stuff, but generally speaking, some aspects, not all aspects, but some aspects of it where people just like brush it off their shoulder, people were a lot happier and a lot cordial with each other. And, the
Right.
people that were like that, they just said, screw you, I'm not going to hang out with you. And then they just like went to their own group and stuff like that. They
Right.
didn't
Yeah, and
cause
that's
this
the end of it, right?
outcry. Yeah, they didn't cause this outcry. There's not something shared on Twitter when there's 250,000 retweets and stuff like that. And
There,
everybody's like
I know some
panicking and
people who are
freaking
very
out.
much like that, who are like,
Hmm.
yeah, Japanese people are still racist, and there's they're banging the drum, and I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, but like, if we're gonna have to look at like comparison from where we came from to where we are now, the
Yeah.
racism is like so minuscule. I just
Yeah.
it's so small, I can't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of like I don't think it will ever die out. I think
No,
even
no.
I feel like the worst thing to do is forcibly trying to kill it
Mhm.
rather than just naturally letting it die in
there's
a
definitely
sense.
here there's definitely here there's a movement that it is changing, like where Japanese people have to be more culturally sensitive to other people because Japanese pop culture is being exported everywhere now, right? So
Mhm.
everywhere is seeing those aspects, and if you have problematic things that will offend people are going
Mhm.
to talk about it, of course.
Yeah.
The intent by the creator is, I'm making this for Japanese people, so they won't care, so whatever.
Mhm.
But what they don't realize is that, someone in another country is going to see that and be like, is that really what they think about me, or about my country or whatever, right?
Yeah. And that's also one thing too is like you find those like special examples and they just kind of blow up and it just gets blanketed over to a whole country, a whole group, or like whatever it is and stuff. And it's like,
Right.
no, you've just singled out that one asshole But if you go a block away or just even in the whole vicinity, everybody
Mhm.
disagrees with it. And like you're making the cancer grow
Mm.
more in a
There,
sense
there's
by projecting, making this false projection of what it is. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's been some stuff though that's been pretty, I would say, pretty blatant. There
Hmm.
was there's a duo, comedian duo in Japan who are like super popular. Everyone knows who they are, and
Uh-huh.
they do a yearly kind of like what they call batsu games. So they get like punished when the whole concept of the show is they have to go 24 hours, and every time they laugh, someone comes with like a bat or like a foam bat and hits them in the ass. So they have to go 24 hours of just people pranking them nonstop for 24 hours. But at the start of, I think it was maybe last year or 2 years ago, they were doing like a police theme, and one of them came out in like literal blackface. Like he looked like blackface, red lips, like
The cop or the
the
other
the,
person?
the comedian.
Oh, the comedian. Oh,
And
gotcha.
he's
Yeah.
on like national TV. Like people are seeing this, right?
Yeah.
And that blew up like
Hmm.
for obvious reasons. But
Yeah.
they're like, oh well, we didn't know, right? So it's like,
Yeah. I do remember that.
yeah,
This was relatively recent, right?
yeah, it was like a year or two ago.
Okay. Yeah. I think I do remember seeing something like that.
Yeah,
Sometimes when you see it in Japan, it takes sometimes like a couple months or even up to a year for it to
there's a
go to
little bit of a
mainstream
time
here.
delay.
There is definitely a time delay, and I noticed that even though we're on the internet, like certain hot topics get
Hmm.
shown up like kind of later on, and it's funny because I'll see some of it just like right when it happens. I'm like, wait, people are freaking out about this now. This is so
Yeah,
old,
this
this
is six
this
months ago.
2016. Yeah, like what the heck,
Yeah,
or however long ago it
yeah.
was and stuff. So, but people like to crop and project it and kind of twist it
Hmm.
into their own like narrative and stuff like that. But speaking of your TV and stuff like that, there's a lot of crazy shit on TV.
Oh man, I
It's
have I
it's
have so many
insane.
opinions on TV
Please,
about
please go ahead.
absolutely terrible Japanese TV is. It's
Why is it
absolutely
terrible?
awful. So the stuff you see on YouTube from Japanese TV and stuff, like all the crazy game shows, those happen like once a year. That's one program for an hour once a year. That's
Oh,
it.
okay.
The other 99% of the year is cooking channel, which is just like a loop of cooking channel.
Yeah.
There's two shopping channels that are selling you garbage tchotchkes, and then every day they'll have variety shows where it is like the same set of 10 famous people reacting to YouTube videos. It is the most low bar Ray William Johnson 2005 like just garbage. It is absolutely terrible. And
Yeah.
I and even on our podcast, like I pulled our base for like, do you watch Japanese TV? Like if you live in Japan, do you watch Japanese TV? Like resoundingly people like, no, it is garbage.
Yeah.
I
So what's the main thing that people watch? Is it just YouTube or Netflix or some type of streaming
for
service?
foreigners, I imagine that it's YouTube and Netflix. I have to
Hmm.
imagine.
Yeah.
Or they just don't watch anything at all because they're out doing something else more interesting.
Yeah.
But like Japanese people, like, yeah, they'll it's kind of more like background noise, I would think. Like
Hmm.
I don't think, at least in my opinion, I don't think Japanese people are sitting down watching TV.
Do you think they're a lot
Really?
more outgoing? They're not really. They're kind of more extroverted
Yeah,
than introverted.
yeah. Like if they're gonna be doing something now, like they'll be watching anime on the internet because someone's
Hmm.
pirated and stuck it somewhere and it's in Japanese, so I don't care about subtitles.
Yeah.
Or they're have it on in the background and they're just watching it like passively.
Okay.
But yeah, it's Japanese TV is terrible.
Dude, that's so interesting. I thought those game shows and like those type of things and stuff were like an everyday thing.
No, it's not. It's very much like that's like a one. Like I think there's that clip of like the guy. I'm sure you've seen the GIF of like the guy eating the handle for like the door and it's like chocolate or whatever.
Yes.
That is a 3 minute clip from a 1 hour long show that happened once.
Oh,
That
okay.
it's never happened again. But
Yeah.
it just gets like recycled, and then people think like, oh, all Japanese TV is this wacky garbage, and it's not.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny because they just go and do some of the weirdest and funniest things. And you
Oh,
have that
don't
person
get
in
me
the
wrong,
bottom
it's weird.
corner that's just like the reaction in like the bottom corner. People are just like laughing at it and stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about? Yeah.
yeah. Oh no, that's on every. That's what drives me crazy. I think it's because I know Japanese,
Hmm.
and it's Japanese TV is so fake. That's the problem. It's
Mm.
so fake. It's so rehearsed. And once you understand Japanese, and once you kind of understand, like, you've watched like a little bit of TV, the mask just crumbles very quickly, and you're like, this is so. It's not even a show anymore. Like, even if there's like random elements in the show, those elements are not random.
Oh, okay,
They've
gotcha.
already decided the outcome. And like the people
Interesting.
in the corner, like sitting up here in the corner,
Yeah, yeah.
all they're saying is, wow, cool, great,
This is
looks
so funny
delicious,
or whatever.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's to everything. Nothing is ever bad on Japanese TV. No one ever says anything is bad. They're like, oh,
Interesting.
we're going to eat food today. And they'll eat it and they'll go, umai. It's really good.
Hmm. Or like
But
it's
everything is
okay, you know, like
no,
you
no
know,
one ever says
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah.
Never. It's always,
Interesting.
this is delicious. The day that someone on TV says, this food's just okay, hell has frozen over.
What? God, I get so thrown off by it. So, what do you only have like a handful of channels and stuff over
Yeah,
there?
there's like
Or
10 channels. That's it.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, we have Comcast where we have like 1,000 channels and
500.
stuff.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
just like whatever it is and
right.
stuff. But
Yeah, I get 10 channels, but then two of them I don't get because my coaxial cable is plugged into the wrong slot. So if I want to
mhm.
watch the other two channels, I have to physically unplug it from the wall and plug it into the other slot to watch the other two channels.
Mhm.
Then the other 8 don't work. So every
Oh.
time I want to watch those channels, I have to switch. Maybe just my house. My old house wasn't like this, but this one is.
Mhm. So, is there a bigger like video game culture over there?
Um, I would say more recently with like younger kids, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because like I teach younger kids and I ask them what do you do, and every time it's like I play games. I'm like, okay,
Is Battlefield a
awesome.
big one going on right
Yeah.
now? Yeah.
Which one?
Battlefield or not
No,
Call of Duty.
not at all. Actually, like most kids I talk to, they either play like Minecraft,
mm,
Fortnite, or they're playing like some kind of Japanese mobile game that I have no idea what it is. Like I
gotcha.
played, and I'm like,
Hmm.
cool. I have
Yeah.
no idea what that is.
Have you played any like even like old school games or like some kind of random console that you would never find in like Australia or not Australia, America or like Canada and stuff like that? Have you played any like kind of off-brand kind of like indie games and stuff? Like, is there like a
Um,
lot of that over there? Like things you would just never find over in the States?
so the things that you would never find in the States is arcades. Arcades are still popular here. They never
Hmm.
died in the after the 80s.
We have a
So
few. We're like on the last string, I feel
yeah,
like.
there's still like considerable amount of them here. Like
Interesting.
they and they have like really innovative, like really cool games that you can play. There's one when I came when I was in university called Gunslinger Stratos. And basically what it was is like, the old like House of the Dead things where you have the light
Yeah,
gun
yeah, 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 yeah.
things. So imagine that, except you're in like a big square where it tracks like the way your body leans, and then you have two pistols, and you're like shooting at a screen, and you're playing online with other people either in the same arcade or in another arcade somewhere in
Oh.
Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And like the pistols were cool because you could like you shoot the pistols like regular pistols, but then they like actually interlocked, like you put them together and pull one back, and then it would turn into like a rifle. And this is all
Oh,
just
okay.
in the arcade machine. And I'm like, that's super cool, and you would never see that outside of
Yeah.
Japan.
I bet there's a lot of good VR stuff over there,
They've
as
started
well. Yeah.
to do VR stuff. Unfortunately for me, I've never played any of it, mostly because the one time I went to VR, I got so motion sick that I
Okay.
felt
Yeah.
sick the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of happens to me as well.
Yeah.
But when it comes to shoot, I was just going to say something. I totally spaced out again for the second
Right.
time. But do you think do you think that being over there now, do you think you would permanently live there if could you see yourself permanently living over there?
At the moment, yes, for sure.
Really?
Because for me, looking back at home, there's really not much there for me. Like, I'll go from here back there. I don't have a house. I don't have money. Don't have a car. My
Hmm.
girlfriend lives here, so why would I go back there, right? Like, and the prospect for me going back is like, well, now I'm starting from square one again,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? So I don't think that it's a good idea, at least for me.
Yeah.
Some people they'll come here for a year and they go, Japan's not for me, and I'll go home, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But it's when you stay here for 3, 4, 5 years, and then by the end of year 7, you have a wife, but then you realize, I don't want to live here anymore. It's like, then you have life problems, and you're like,
Yeah.
what do I do? So for
Yeah.
me, yeah, I don't plan on going home because I like it here too much. I feel
Yeah.
like I have more opportunity to do what I want to do when I want to do it here than I ever did back home.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see that. And do you feel like there's also kind of like a little bit of a adventure aspect to it as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. Like, there's, every day is just kind of interesting. Like, I'll walk around, be like, oh, that's neat. Japan,
Hmm.
especially where I live, like, even Tokyo in general. I'm not even gonna generalize about that. I'll just say Tokyo. There's this weird, like, dichotomy of where you'll have areas of Tokyo like Shibuya that's like very nice and clean and new, and
Hmm.
then you go like 10, 20 minutes outside of that area, and it's just buildings are made of like sheet metal, and they're old, and they look like garbage, and they're gonna fall down next week.
Yeah.
And you have like the mom and pop shop on the corner, and you're like, ooh, what's in there? I don't know, because I can't read that kanji. I have no idea what it says, so let's go find out, right? So it's interesting in that way too, yeah, where I'm kind of like, yeah, every day is great, as long as I leave my station and go somewhere new.
Hmm.
I've been able to find interesting things.
Do you feel like you're pretty much free to do what you want? Do you feel like it is a pretty free country to do whatever the heck you want over there?
Yeah, I feel like, well, obviously within reason, right? If
Well, yeah, yeah. I'm not
if
saying anarchy, but I'm saying just like compared to like Canada or the States and stuff. Do you feel like you get the same freedoms that you would, back there to over here,
I
to over in
feel like
Tokyo?
I feel like I do get the same freedoms, but the difference is that I have a lot more accessibility to them, at
Hmm.
least for the things I like to do. So I like to build, like, in my spare time, just for fun. I like to build models. Now back home, to find the models I like to build, I'm shelling out like 40, $50. Here I can buy them for like 12.
Hmm.
So for me, if I want to do like a big grand, thing, I can just do it. Or like, if I want to go, if today I feel like I want to go to the batting cage, I can do it. there,
Hmm.
there there wasn't as many things that I actually wanted to do back
Yeah.
home,
Hmm.
whereas here I kind of have my fill, right? Like, I have too many choices, so I'm like, great, like, I can kind of do whatever I want.
Yeah. Do you feel like just going from, basically not much to having
Mhm.
everything plus
Everything.
some? Yeah. Do you think it just kind of still it's still blowing your mind? You're like, oh my God,
A
my
little
whole
bit,
life.
yeah.
I can't. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah, for sure.
One thing that I always wanted to know is I know I have not been to Japan,
Mhm.
obviously, but I've been to China, and when it came to like ordering things and doing things like online and stuff, let's just say like Amazon in the US and Canada is very well set up. And just the whole structure of just everything, if you want to go to a store, you could easily find it on the maps and
Mhm.
everything else and stuff. But it seemed like when I went over to Hong Kong, everything was just crazy. It looked like it was so unorganized, like food delivery was kind of hard and stuff like that. is it very well structured from everything that I've been talking about? Is it very well structured over in Tokyo?
Yeah, it is really well structured. And I think that goes back to that service culture, right? If the
Yeah.
service is bad, there's like that. Japan's a very like shame focused country. So like if you have a service that someone is not like pleased with, or like you did a bad job,
Hmm.
you I don't know if it's like I don't care. I'd be like, whatever. It's not a big deal to
Yeah,
me.
it's a minor
But they're like, oh
inconvenience.
my
Yeah.
god, like my life is over. Like I'm gonna get fired from my job, my family will disown me, and I won't be able to be in their grave plot when I die. Like it's
Hmm.
that they ratchet it up like really, really high, right? So here, like I ordered, for example, I ordered this new microphone for my own podcast. I ordered it yesterday. It
Hmm.
came within like 6 hours.
Interesting.
Like it's quick and like
Wow.
delivered, left in my like mailbox at the front door. No problems.
Looks like Jeff Bezos needs to go take a trip over to Tokyo and figure shit out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think one of the things is that it's the size of the country makes
Hmm.
a big difference, right?
Yeah.
So I know that when I look at the tracking info, it says it's coming from Chiba. Chiba's like maybe 2 hours away.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
Yeah.
they're shipping it like to my house the same day because it's only 2 hours away.
Yeah. Yeah,
But I
that
imagine
is
if you
also
live
nice.
somewhere in like the more rural areas of Japan, that might be a different story.
Yeah. I've always like wondered about like the size difference, obviously between America and Canada. Canada is,
Mhm.
huge. America is also pretty big as well. And just like compared to a country like Japan, do you think it's better that countries like Japan are a little bit smaller and just in the geographic size and in population as well? Do you feel like the smaller it gets, the better it gets a little bit, like to a certain point? Do you feel like countries get so big that it's just kind of too chaotic? Like I kind of theorize that I feel like America should probably break up. Even Canada could probably break up a little bit too, just because Canada is different because you have a lot of open space and stuff.
Yeah.
America kind of does a little bit, but not to the extent of Canada, because you have a lot of stuff up north that's even
Yeah, nobody
uninhabitable
lives
and
there.
stuff. Yeah, nobody lives there
No,
except for
nobody
like
lives
some
there.
Indians
Yeah.
and stuff
I
like that.
think
But
so. I think it has its advantages and disadvantages for sure. Like for a smaller country like Japan, you can pack a lot of the services in the same area and everyone will use it. The flip side to that is that everyone is using it. So you'll have 50,000 people going to the same area and it's just super, super crowded, right?
yeah. Hmm.
So, yeah, it's accessible, but if I have to wait in line for an hour, is it really that much of an advantage? Like, yes, it's there, but if I'm going to have to wait, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, if you're
So,
agrophobic,
yeah,
Japan or Tokyo probably wouldn't be the best for
yeah,
you.
it's you're definitely not going to have a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like for travel, it's great. For getting around, it's great. For doing business, it's awesome because everything's close.
Hmm.
Uh, it's like, oh, I need um food or something. It's like, oh, it's down the street, like 5 minutes, right? I have
Yeah.
a grocery store in my train station. So I just get off the train. What do I need tonight for dinner? Go in, buy my ingredients, come home.
Hmm.
And like that's great. Whereas before in Canada, it was like, oh, I need to get groceries. I got to drive for half an hour, buy my groceries, hope I bought enough for a week, then drive half an hour back to my house. Whoops, I forgot the milk. Got to drive half an hour back to,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't miss that at all.
Yeah.
0%.
Do people drive that much, or is everybody just walking and taking public transportation?
I would say like in the larger cities, a good majority of people are taking public transportation, but
Okay.
people still drive. Um, Mostly because once you get out of the cities, yeah, you can take a train, but it's more efficient to take a car.
Okay.
Some trains just don't service some areas. So there's like in Tokyo, for example, in the northwestern area, there's a train that goes like all the way out to the like really rural areas. But the
Hmm.
problem is that if you are going out to that rural area, you're like in a single car train. And I've been to some of these stations where like I'm sitting at the station and I'm the only one there and I'm waiting. And usually in Tokyo they have like a like a schedule of like, oh, when this train will be here at this time, and it'll tell you the train's coming. There's nothing like that. So I'm just sitting in this like empty train station wondering, when's the train gonna show up? And
Yeah.
like there's it's so far out in the middle of nowhere. The guy that works at the station just isn't even there because nobody's at the station. So why does he need to go to work?
Yeah.
Right. So there's nowhere to buy a ticket. And I remember I was there, and there's like this. I had to ask an old lady. I'm like, when does the train come? And she's like, oh, every 4 hours. I'm like, every 4 hours? What? Like, yeah, every 4 hours. I'm like, are you waiting for the train? She's like, no, I'm just here. Sitting in the train station. I'm like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, where do you buy a ticket? She's like, ticket? You don't buy a ticket. You just ride the train.
You just do it. Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on? This is so bizarre. Yeah, there's places like that in Japan that I think foreign people don't travel to, so they don't know they exist. But it's just super weird.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's the complete flipped opposite of Tokyo, where you don't get on the train unless you have a ticket, and there's like 50 million staff in the station.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love that though. I think that's kind of like what inspires me to travel is just it does feel like you are going to a different world, and there's just a lot and it's sometimes some things you just would not expect, like a train station, for example. It's like I think that's just kind of amazing to see, and I think that's what I kind of appreciate more about travel than going to the coolest bar in Tokyo. But just having those funny stories, it's just like I'm stuck at this train station. I just don't know what the hell to do and stuff.
What the hell to do?
Yeah, it's like it's a little gem. It's a funny story. It's usually a funnier and better story than I just had a green night at a bar or so, whatever. But we were talking about like Tokyo being kind of crowded, a lot of people walking around and stuff. COVID-19. What happened? How was things before and how are things now?
I feel like it's been kind of the same right from the get-go to now. And one of it is because I'm going to sound like a weird conspiracy theorist talking about this, but I believe it to 100% be true, is that the Japanese government was intentionally underreporting how many people were infected with COVID-19.
I can see that
100%, because at the time, I think it was like back in March, they had like, they're like, oh, we have 200 cases of COVID in the entire country. I'm like, 200? There's like 100 million people in this country, and you have 200, and China has like 50 million people are infected. Like, how? We're like right next door. There's no way that's possible.
Yeah.
I know how many Chinese tourists come to Japan. It's a lot. There's no way in hell that only 200 people have COVID. There's no possible way, right? But then later on, it like comes out, they're like, oh yeah, we were only testing like X amount of people. So it's like, well, how many people did you test? 200. Well, how many people had COVID? 200. It's like, yeah, well, of course, because you tested the people you already knew had COVID.
Yeah.
Like, it was blatantly obvious that they had COVID. So of course there's only 200 people. So yeah, but I think as far as like the kind of public reaction, I think it's very different than America, where you have people who are like, I'm not wearing a mask when I go to get my groceries and this stuff, because people don't care. People would wear masks anyway.
Yeah, it's part of the culture. It's I don't know if it stems from Japanese culture, but yeah, it definitely is part of the culture.
I think it's more I think Americans are like, oh, you want me to wear this mask because you want to do something to me. Whereas in Japan, I think it's very much viewed as, I'm wearing a mask so I don't infect other people if I'm sick.
Yeah.
Where people will wear a mask out of courtesy to other people.
Yeah, because they're sick or they're coughing and sneezing and they don't want to spread. And obviously you guys are in a dense area, so that makes sense. Yeah, so, I definitely do see it. For me, it's just like, I'll wear it when I need to. Obviously, if I'm in a public place. If I'm in the middle of the park, I'm not fucking wearing it. Like, why? Like, it doesn't make sense to.
I'm the exact same way, where if I'm going like from my house to the train station, I'm gonna have it like down here, while I'm walking, because I
Yeah,
can see
yeah,
like someone 20 feet in front of me. There's no one behind me. Like, I don't need it on. No one's going to infect me from that far away. But the
yeah.
second I go into the train station, yeah, I'm going to put it on, just
Hmm.
because I think it's one thing. It's physical. Like, I'm protecting myself and I'm protecting other people. But the other flip side of that is it's psychological. It puts other people at ease knowing that everyone is being responsible,
Yeah,
or
you're
at
being
least
respectful too, and
they're
yeah.
thinking about what their impact could happen, rather than, well, it's me. I'm important, so I have to do things my way, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I definitely do think, especially in America, some things are really crazy. I think yeah. I don't know how Japan has been just pretty relaxed about it. Did things ever close down?
Yeah, so they've closed down. It's actually been like a big debate. So originally, Abe closed down the borders to anyone who was not a Japanese citizen.
Okay.
So that included people who are permanent residents. So if you're a foreigner who went abroad and you're a permanent resident, you weren't even allowed back into the country that you live in. So it
Okay.
became an issue where like someone's spouse or something went back home, or to go like on a vacation, or they went to another country on vacation, and
Hmm.
then Japan just says you can't come back. It's like, what do you mean I can't? I live here. I have to go back. I'm on vacation. Like, what do you want me to do? And they're
Hmm.
like, no, you can't come back. So it's been that way for quite a while. And like, I think just recently they're releasing the restrictions on permanent residents. So finally, people who have maybe not been able to see their children for half a year, 6 months,
Yeah.
finally able to come back into the country. And it's like, I don't know
Wow.
what were you doing? Like, why? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very strange. It's been a thing of contention with the Japanese government. Like, why would you do that? They're permanent residents. They literally live here.
Hmm.
Your government has recognized them as citizens of your country, and you're
Hmm.
not letting them back in.
Wow. Are you a
I'm not a permanent
citizen?
resident.
You're
No,
not a permanent resident?
not yet.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
What's the timeline for that? Like, how do
you
you?
have to have lived here for, I think it's, you have to have lived here for 5 years, and then have two people that can vouch for your like citizenship or something.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So
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 I'm
your
year four or
work pretty
five.
much.
I'm getting
Yeah.
there.
Okay, gotcha. That's pretty cool though. Are you allowed dual citizenship?
Um, Legally, no,
Oh,
but uh, Canada doesn't care if you renounce your, like, Canada's rule is, if you're a Canadian citizen, you're a Canadian citizen for life, regardless of what any other country says.
yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but Japan is the complete opposite. They're like, you're Japanese and nothing else.
Shame on you. Shame, the shame culture,
So
right?
so if you're a half Japanese, half something else, at
Hmm.
18, you have to choose what citizenship you want, either Japanese or whatever else you are.
Oh, interesting.
You have to choose, and like no option in the view
Interesting.
of Japan's like legal system. So most countries, if they have a similar type thing to Canada, where Canada says we don't really care, they'll just
Hmm.
choose Japanese, because then that way they get to double dip.
I see. Yeah, that going into politics a little bit. I know one of the hot topics right now is Shinzo Abe.
Mhm.
What? Obviously, he's sick. Or
Is
he's
he
stepping
though?
down because he's sick. I don't know. Obviously, what the news says is that he's sick.
So I
What
say this because he said the exact same thing in 2007.
that he was sick or he was stepping down because he was sick?
So in 2007, government's not doing great. Japanese economy is declining. Abe is the president, and he goes, "My bowels, they hurt. I am no longer prime minister. Next guy, please come." So then at the end of the year, they go, "Next guy, why did you screw up Japan's government, you idiot?" And he's like, "I've only been here 2 months. Like, what do you mean?" So
He's like, all right, I'm gonna reelect myself again,
yeah.
and yeah.
So in 2007, he said like, "Oh, I have bowel issues. I'm going to stop being the prime minister." Then between 2007 and 2012, there was 5 different prime ministers. So in a span of 4 years, you had 5 different prime ministers. Then
Mhm.
Shinzo Abe wins again in 2012, and he's the prime minister from 2012 to now. If you notice some similarities, Olympics didn't happen. COVID's really bad. Japanese economy's tanking. And he goes, my bowels, they're terrible. They hurt. I'm going. Bye. See ya. Like,
Interesting.
you look at it and you go, really? Because you seemed fine for the other 8 years you were prime minister. Like, what happened?
Oh my God. You better wait a little bit when you apply for your permanent residency,
Yeah,
just
God,
because you'll be
who
like,
knows? Who knows
screw
who's gonna be in
you.
power?
You exposed me. So what was he doing that was like, what do you think is the reason for the declining of the economy or whatever other
Tourism.
issues are? Oh, just
Straight up,
tourism?
just tourism. Japan's like, so Japan is really has a lot of soft power. So they export a lot of culture, but don't actually export a lot of goods.
Mm-hmm.
So they make a lot of their money out of tourism. Now, if you are a country that wins the Olympics and then spend all the money to make the infrastructure to run the Olympics, and then nobody comes for the Olympics, you've lost a lot of money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Gotcha.
that's basically where they're at right now. They've spent all this money. Like, they built a brand new train station on the Yamanote line, which is the biggest line in Tokyo, and there has not been a new train station on that line for decades. They
Interesting.
built it
Yeah.
just for the Olympics, and now the Olympics aren't happening. So they're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God. So, I mean, yeah, basically, there hasn't been any other big issues with COVID. It's just basically COVID happened. Shinzo Abe is obviously prime minister. Economy declines,
Yeah.
and he just wants to leave, so he just doesn't get any pushback. Has there been anything else that Abe has done during the COVID? I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt for
Where are
each
they?
leader.
Where are they?
Yeah.
Maybe they're still around here. Hang on. Okay.
Well,
I don't have them on
I
me.
will give the benefit of the doubt. I don't think anybody could have predicted it
Oh,
besides
God, no.
God. Yeah, I
So
mean,
here's
so,
another
yeah.
thing that, like, they've been critical on. I was looking for my Abe no mask. So Abe's mask. So he always shows up to his diet with, like, the Japanese diet, which is like the Japanese government, like House of Commons or like Senate or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Their ruling body. And he has this mask, and it's like super tiny. Like, it literally just covers his mouth. So either he's wearing it like up here and like you can see his mouth, or he's wearing it down here and his nose is exposed. So
Yeah.
it does absolutely nothing. It's garbage, right?
Yeah.
So his genius plan to deal with COVID was, we're going to give every family 2 of these masks that are reusable. I'm going to spend your tax money on it. And everyone goes, no, stop. Don't do that. That's a bad idea. And he goes, too late. I've already done it. So everyone's like, God, okay, well, guess I'm getting a mask. 3-4 months later, you finally get one. So in the 3 to 4 months that COVID's been like raging through the country, you could already be well dead before you got that mask. So it's like, why even bother? It's like, oh, we gave you $1,000 stimulus check. Like, wasn't that good enough? I just got my stimulus check. I applied in before July. I just got it last week.
Oh, wow.
So what was I supposed to do for the other 4 months where I got no money?
Mm-hmm.
If I was unemployed.
If you were unemployed.
If I was unemployed. If I was unemployed, what was I supposed to do for the other 4 months that I needed money? And $1,000, not that much.
You're a teacher. They didn't stop teaching or anything like that, or no? Oh, okay.
Stopped it. So they extended summer vacation. They stopped it for March and they extended a little bit longer. And then now they've chopped off the end of August and made the kids go back to school then to make up the time that they lost. So really all they did was move summer to March.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And have done nothing, really. Like, ultimately, they haven't really done anything because COVID's still here. So, like, who cares if they went to school in March or if they went to school in August? You're still putting them in a school.
Have you been seeing like a lot of people, or have you been hearing about a lot of cases of people dying, or do you think that it's not hitting you as hard?
I think it's kept under wraps pretty well. like they don't want to talk about it because, again, like I said, it's a shame country. So if you have suddenly you have like a big medical outbreak, people are like, oh no, like bad things are happening. So I think
Mhm.
they try and keep it under wraps as much as they possibly can, but it's hard to say. I
Mhm.
don't know for sure. As far as like schools and stuff, schools have been fine. There hasn't
Yeah.
been reported cases in a school.
Well, my theory on it is basically it. I mean, this is fact that it affects people who have certain types of diseases,
Hmm.
and people who are extremely overweight. I
Yep.
don't believe that Japan is necessarily an overweight country. I feel like it's a
There's some
pretty
people,
low
but yeah, on
percentage,
the most part, yeah, it's pretty.
and I
Most people
think
are pretty thin.
that Mexico, the Americas, I'll just say the
Hmm.
Americas, are getting hit because that portion of the world are a lot of them are overweight, and so
Right,
I
because
think
it's
that's
a
why America.
respiratory thing, right? And if you're overweight, you're having a harder time breathing already.
Yeah. hmm So if you're relative young, and if you're healthy, and if you are at a decent weight, I think you're going to be fine. So I feel like seeing some certain countries like Vietnam, Japan, Thailand, and things like that, a lot of them are really skinny because one, in your culture, versus like a Canadian or American culture,
Hmm.
you guys walk a lot.
Oh yeah,
You walk and
Japan
use
loves
public
stairs too.
yeah, you have a lot of stairs and stuff like that. I mean, when I was in China, even Russia, England, and stuff like that, England it was a little less, but I didn't I don't walk as much as I do compared to those other countries, and I walk miles upon miles.
Hmm.
And I think people. I mean, for my job, I get up, I go in my car. There's about 100 steps. I drive my car to my office. There's maybe another 100 steps, and I'm sitting down for 8 hours, and
Right.
I'm taking like maybe 1,000 steps a day. Obviously, I do more, and I work out and stuff like that. But a lot of Americans live that way, and so
Yeah.
there's no circulation. There's and there's that tends to cause more obesity and
Mhm.
other diseases and stuff like that. So
There was a thing that early on during COVID, I guess someone had leaked some information that at morgues in Tokyo, they were told to treat people who had died of pneumonia as if they had died of COVID, and that was one of the reasons why they thought that they were misreporting the numbers of people who died from COVID by writing down that they had died of pneumonia instead.
oh, gotcha, yeah,
So that was one of the things like, well, how, yeah, again, how can you only have 200? Like, that's insane. That's insanely low. It's like a
yeah,
fraction of a percentile based off of like the per capita amount of people
yeah.
that should have it.
I don't think you could trust any government right now. I feel like
Oh,
they're
God.
just kind of going in their self-interest. I mean, even in America right now,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if you like Trump or Biden or whoever, but there's an
Yep.
election going on, so I guess what's more beneficial for Biden is if there's more chaos, and
Hmm.
so I feel like there is some inspiration to cause some mayhem,
Right.
behind that and stuff like that. So
I mean, you got to do what you got to do to win, right?
yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what the sad part is about it. But I ignore it. I'm so over it and stuff. Like everybody think it's like hell over here and stuff, but it's okay. It's pretty chill for
Yeah.
the most part. Obviously, when the media reports one thing, you have like a single isolated
Yeah.
event, and
I
they
mean,
think that the
at
whole
this
country's like
point,
that.
like kind of watching it from afar at this point, I'm like, I can't trust any like media because I'm I'm smart enough to know that what they're showing me isn't always the what's actually happened.
Yeah,
Because immediately after I'll go on Reddit or I'll go on the internet and then I'll see the extra 10 minutes that they cut out of the clip where all the context is, and they're like, oh, look at this bad guy doing bad shit. And it's like, oh, but the police just beat the shit out of him 10 seconds before that, but you cut that out of the newsreel. It's like,
yeah.
yeah,
It's soft propaganda.
right.
That's basically what it is. It's self-interested, soft propaganda. Speaking of propaganda, North Korea,
Hmm.
they've been shooting some missiles over you guys.
Yeah,
That
they
was a
did.
little while back, but
Is I remember where it was because on in Japan on your phone you'll get an alert message when
Yeah.
there's an earthquake, when there's a typhoon. And I remember I was sitting in my apartment in Kawasaki. Oh god, what a shit box. I was, I was sitting in my apartment in Kawasaki, and I'm on my bed, and my phone just goes wee wee wee, and I'm like, oh, it's an earthquake. And then I look, and it's like, oh no, it's just like North Korea has fired missiles over top of Sapporo, and I'm like, well, I don't live in Sapporo. I don't care. Whatever, go nuke Sapporo. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like to be honest though, nobody thinks about North Korea here. Like nobody
Really?
cares. 0%. It's like
Really?
it's kind of just like he's that boogeyman in the corner, but like nobody really cares that he's there because he's
Mm.
been saber rattling for 20 years and never
Mhm.
actually done anything. It's like, oh, he shot a missile. It's like, okay.
Gotcha.
Like
So it
they didn't
just
even
kind of
bother to
shrugged
shoot
off?
it down. So how bad was it gonna actually be, right?
Yeah. Do you feel like your military's pretty advanced?
So Japan doesn't have a military.
Oh no, we have the US. That's right. But you don't have any military
So
assistance?
Japan has the SDF, the Super Defense Force, the Special Defense Force.
Mhm.
They're like equipped like the U.S. military. Like they have F-22 Raptors and stuff, but they're like a much smaller. Because
Smaller
after World War
scale.
II, they had to sign like a decree that they couldn't have a standing army, but they
Yeah,
could
that's
have a
right.
defense force of X amount of people and whatever. So
Mhm.
they have similar technology, but they're not. They don't have a standing army. But I
Gotcha.
mean, Okinawa, all the bases in Okinawa. There's a base in Zama, which is like maybe 20 minutes from where I live.
Mhm.
There's people here. So
Yeah.
America has an interest of not having their own people get bombed.
Yeah.
So realistically, they'll mobilize if they really have to.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. I, forgetting about like World War II and stuff like that. It's so funny. I mean, obviously, it was, about 100 years ago and stuff, a
Mm-hmm.
little less than 100 years ago and stuff. But yeah, we kind of got over it, and we're all kind of friendly and chill. Like after it, even Germany as well. I think that's kind
Some
of
people,
interesting.
some people.
Some people, yeah,
I think if you talk to people in Okinawa, a lot of people are like, we don't want the Americans there.
interesting. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's always been a contentious thing to like just get out. Like we
Mm,
understand after World War II, it made sense, but now we're 60 years removed. Like you don't need to be here, just leave. But of course,
gotcha.
America's like, nope, too bad. We're here. We're
Yeah,
here. And if you
yeah.
don't like it, too bad.
We know what you did to Hawaii, and we're never
Yeah,
going to forget
exactly.
about
Right.
it. Yeah.
Now we're going to take your Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's just North
It's
Korea is
kind
just
of an
kind of whatever.
afterthought, really. Yeah, like
Interesting.
people are just like, ah, yeah, he's there, I guess. I think I had friends who also lived in South Korea, and they're very much the same way. They're like, he's just kind of there, and you hear it
Hmm.
like, oh, he shot, you know, stuff at the border, but it didn't actually do anything, and they're like, ah, he does this every week. Who
It's
cares?
kind of like a show, like for show, just
Yeah,
like
it is.
trying
It
to
is
look strong.
100% for show.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's really interesting. I thought you guys would be kind of like on high alert and stuff, just since you're so close. But I talked to
Nope.
a guy from North Korea in my last
Yeah,
episode,
I know
and
you talked to the Choreo Tours guy.
yeah, yeah. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I knew. I'd watched like a documentary about another guy who went with Choreo Tours to North
Hmm.
Korea, so I know a little bit about them and what they do. So
Yeah, I think my only opinion on it is, obviously what he's being shown. I feel like I don't think it's specifically like a propaganda tour, but I feel like it's subtly like a propaganda
yeah,
tour and
I
stuff.
mean
Like,
they're not gonna take you out to some peasant's house in the middle of North Korea, right?
yeah,
Like,
I
hey,
mean, we
look,
obviously know there's the work camps and there's those
yeah,
things like that and stuff. So obviously the tours, they want to boost their
they're
economy.
directed for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, they are definitely directed and stuff. But I also think that we might think they're a little bit worse than what we really know. Obviously, the camps and stuff very
Mm-hmm.
bad. I know, but like I don't think it's as crazy as what we think. I think the less we know, the crazier our minds will kind of go. We kind of go
Right.
down the conspiratorial route and stuff like that. But yeah, it was really interesting and stuff. But I still believe it's pretty evil to lock your people in there and do
Oh
some of the
yeah,
things
for
that we
sure.
know
Like I
you
mean,
do.
that's I think that's undebatable.
Oh
But
yeah,
as far as like international relations or like the day to day whatever people think here,
yeah.
I don't even think most people even think about it. They'll like see it on the news and be like, oh yeah, that guy. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that's the only thought they have about it.
What do you think is the biggest threat to Japan? Do you think there are
The
any
biggest
unknown?
threat,
Yeah.
earthquakes.
Earthquake.
Earthquakes, the typhoon that's about to destroy Kyushu.
You weren't oh yeah, not Hiroshima. Um the nuclear leak that
Oh,
happened in
Fukushima.
Fukushima. What do you know about that?
I as far as I know, like that's mostly been cleaned up. Like from now, like nobody talks about that anymore.
Yeah, it was it was like a huge thing and it just kind of disappeared.
I think people made a lot. Here's the thing, right? Going back to media, I think people blew that up a little bit more than it necessarily was. Like, yeah, it was bad, but the nuclear reactor didn't explode. It wasn't like Chernobyl, right?
No. Yeah.
So they got it under control and they contained it, and that's kind of the end of the story. But people are always like, oh no, like we detected zero point 0.1 rads of radiation like a mile. It's like point, you get more rads from sticking your head close to the microwave.
Yeah. Yeah, that I saw that picture and it was like it's probably some like very far left like environmentalist group that's just
Right.
being so like rabid about it and stuff and they're just like they said like after so many years like all the shit in the ocean's just going to
Yeah.
die or something like that. But so it wasn't that bad. It was just it was pretty
It
well
was
contained and
I think it was bad because it was coupled with the earthquake. Like the
Mhm.
earthquake was so bad that this was just this was the cherry on top of the
Yeah,
cake, as it were. It's like, oh, the
gotcha.
earthquake was bad. The nuclear power plant's gonna explode, but then it didn't, and then people just kind of went, okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was seeing
Because people
people
still
like
live in
on
Fukushima. Like people I know people from Fukushima. They're fine. Nothing wrong
yeah,
with them.
yeah. They're not growing a third arm or they're not
No,
dying of cancer or anything like
at least
that.
I hope not. Maybe they're
Yeah, I know,
hiding it.
right? Yeah. Give it a couple more years and
Right,
then we'll
exactly. The
see.
mutation needs to grow.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's kind of good to hear because I was definitely concerned about that when it happened when I was younger and stuff. But you get earthquakes pretty frequently, huh? You just had one, I feel like relatively recently, right? Not too big,
There
but
was one that was
I'm just hoping I'm streaming
2
this and an
weeks.
earthquake happens. That would be awesome.
I mean, I can shake the camera if you
Yeah, no,
really
I know, right? Yeah.
No, yeah, like uh I will say though, as someone from Canada where we don't have earthquakes, experiencing my first earthquake was really like I didn't know what really to expect. It's very weird
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
yeah, it very much is like stuff like the ground kind of like shifts back and forth in a weird way that I've
Hmm.
never felt before. It's really weird. But yeah, I think the last earthquake we had was like a month ago, maybe.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, I heard you
It
had
was
kind of
small.
a
Like I have not experienced a quote unquote big earthquake.
oh, okay.
Not even close.
I have once, and it was a very weird feeling because I my whole head got busy. It just like I could not like properly control myself when I was walking. It was the
Right.
weirdest thing and stuff. But yeah, they're interesting. But obviously that earthquake in Fukushima was probably before you even came
Yeah,
up,
that
right?
was.
That was
I
a
think that
long time
was.
ago,
What was
huh?
I? I was third or fourth year university, so I was in like my last year of university when it happened.
Gotcha.
So that
How
was.
how long's the flight from your hometown to over there?
Oh God, it's like
Are you East Canada or West Canada?
west,
Okay, close
west
to
ish.
Vancouver?
I'm like a 2 hour flight from Vancouver.
Okay. I'm in Seattle, so
Okay, yeah, you're
I
actually probably almost exactly in line,
yeah, I go there all the time.
the same way. So yeah, to go to from my house to Seattle is probably almost the exact same distance. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's like depends on if you're going or coming. If you're going, it's quicker. If you're coming home, it's longer
Yeah, because you're
because you're
going against the
trying to catch up
rotation.
to your
Yeah.
destination. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
like 16 or 18 hours going, and then like 21. No, it's 16 or 18 the long way, and
Yeah.
then it's like 14
Yeah.
the short way.
Yeah.
Too long to be
I
on a
I hate where like kind of like we live, because if you want to go to Europe or if you want to go to Asia, it
Asia.
takes forever. It
Yep.
takes forever either way.
You have no choice. You're on a plane for 20 hours, like it or not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, with all the layovers and everything else,
Yeah.
it's just horrible. I pretty much have asked everything I want to ask, but normally I ask this question at the end, so I have two. One question is, what is the craziest thing you have experienced or seen in your area? And two,
Huh.
what is the scariest or like life-threatening event you have ever experienced over there, if you have?
I'm trying to think of like what weird things. Oh, um, this was my okay. Here's my weird experience. When I was in my first year after I'd come here, I was out drinking with my faculty from my school, and we had finished drinking, and I was walking home. So I had like my like not suitcase. What is it? Like a briefcase type thing, or like a bag. I
Yeah.
was like carrying a bag.
Hmm.
I'm in like a full suit. I'm
Yeah.
drunk. I'm walking home, and I had lived. The door into my apartment was in like this back alley off the main road, so I had to like go down this other road and into a back alley. And on the corner of this back alley, because it kind of like snaked like this. On this corner was this old guy's house that he lived with his wife and his really old dog. And I would see this guy every day. And I would kind of like, you just nod to him because I don't know if he knows Japanese or whatever. So this night, I'm walking home and I turn around the corner and there he is, pants down at his ankles, peeing into the gutter. And he's there, and I like turn around the corner, and I stop, and I look at this guy, and I go, "Oh!" And he turns around, and he goes, "Ah, konbanwa." He's like, "Ah, how are you?" and I'm sitting there like, "What's going on?" But yeah, it was funny because after that night, I ended up sitting with him on his porch, like just drinking more whiskey. It was a very weird night. Nice guy, but yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
It's kind of stuff like that why I enjoy being in this country. As
Do,
far
do,
as like
do people
life,
just kind of shrug things off like embarrassing? They're like, oh yeah, whatever, it's cool.
like the guy's old, right? He's probably
Yeah.
like 75, 80. So like,
So no shame.
He's like, I don't care. He's
Yeah.
like, whatever. Why he was peeing in the gutter when his house was literally right there, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever. I guess if you're
Yeah.
drunk, do what you got to do. But as far as life-threatening things, I don't think I've.
I mean, I've been doing interviews with like Venezuela and stuff like that. So I know some countries will probably just be like, no, it's pretty chill here and stuff like that. So I wasn't expecting anything like that.
Yeah, I can't think of
anything
anything
scary, anything really scary, like, or do you think it was just like the not awkwardness, but just the insecurity you had just coming to a new place and stuff? Is like,
No, not for me, not really. I feel like a lot of people, they have like that moment when they come and they get like not like homesick, but they're like, I want to get out of here. This is weird. I don't want to be here. For me, because I spoke Japanese and I'd been to Japan before, and I had been here, like I had lived here for like a month on a previous trip. I kind of knew what to expect. So when I came, I never had that period of time where I was like, I need to, like, everything's so overwhelming. I was just kind of like, okay, this is where I live now. And that was kind of it.
Do your parents miss you?
Maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to them in a while.
Oh, you haven't talked to them? Oh, yeah.
No. But yeah, it's, no, yeah, I'm sure they do. But in other ways, I'm sure they're probably like, thank God that guy's gone.
Yeah. So it's pretty mutual.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as like weird stuff, I'm sure I've had runs in with like Yakuza before and just didn't know they're Yakuza.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably, I bet you that's happened.
Yeah.
I know that my other friends have also had run-ins with Yakuza, and then they found out after the fact and they're like, oh my God.
So it's a real thing. Yakuza is a
they're
very
around.
real thing. Yeah.
They've moved. So like, I think people think like, oh, the Yakuza are in like Kabukicho and stuff still. They are, but not really. Like most of the like hardcore Yakuza have moved to like Nagoya.
Mm-hmm.
where
Interesting.
it's a little bit out of Tokyo's reach.
What would you describe him as? Just kind of like a mafia,
Yeah,
like
I mean they're
family
like a
mafia?
legitimate mafia. So like I know that they run like all the host and like hostess bars and like prostitution, like soap lands and stuff, and
A
probably
soap
they have
land. Can you tell me what a soap land is?
soap land. Okay, a soap land is where you go into a building and you talk to a lady at the front counter, and she asks you how long do you want to go into this room with this lady.
Mm.
You say, I want this lady for this long. Let's go. And you go into the room, you strip naked, and then she uses like gel or lotion and then just like rubs her body against you, typically. I'm sure I know
Interesting.
that they have a similar thing in like Korea as well.
Yeah, that's
But yeah,
really interesting. Is
it's
it, and it's
basically
legal?
prostitution.
Is it legal?
Is it legal? Maybe. Maybe.
Have you been to one of
No,
those?
I have not.
Ah, okay.
For the sake of my current relationship, no, I've not.
Yeah. Just
No,
doing you
you
good.
see them off and on in like because I used to live in Kawasaki, which used to have one of the biggest red light districts, so they still kind of exist in that area.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you see them from time to time, but I've never been in one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think red light districts are pretty funny, especially being
Yeah.
going down to Thailand. Yeah. It
Mhm.
gets crazy over there.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's also kind of funny just to watch and see. And there's a lot of fun things around there. You don't necessarily
Hmm.
have to partake into that, but
For
you
sure.
just kind of watch the circus and you have a drink and laugh about it. It kind
Yep.
of almost, yeah. I enjoy that more. So
Yeah, I don't know how it would compare to Thailand, but like Japan is like very high on privacy. So like
interesting.
everything you go into the building, blackout windows, everything. Like no one can see what you do
No,
in
they're
that building
very open in
except for you.
Thailand. They're
Ah, okay.
very open. They're just like, hey, here
We're
we are
opposite.
and everything. Yeah. They have segregated brothels. So if you want
Mm,
Russian, Indian, Thai,
weird.
Japanese, Middle
Huh.
Eastern and stuff, yeah, they have segregated brothels. And I thought that was the funniest thing.
Weird. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever language you want, I think they're just appealing to all the tourists going over there. So they're like, oh,
There
you
you go,
want
I
your
guess.
type? Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like I learned a lot about it. I didn't really know too much about Japan, before going into this conversation and stuff, but
Mm,
it's kind of nice also not necessarily having like a person who is born there, but someone who actually has traveled there and who has gained an outside in
mm-hmm.
perspective as well. I think that was really cool. So I'm pretty much done right now. If you would like
Okay.
to talk about your podcast, and if you just want to plug
Sure.
that in, that'd be
Yeah.
cool.
I'll just say uh before I do that, it's
Oh
just
yeah, go ahead.
take what I say with a grain of salt.
Mhm.
This is my personal experience, and I think that you if you came, you'd have a very different experience, and maybe that's kind of why I like this country because you even people who come have a different very different outlook, or like maybe they're interested in things that I'm not, so their opinion is very varied.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess one quick question I want to ask is, compared to the currency, is it relatively the same with like America and Canada, the USD and CAD, or is it a little
um
cheaper? Or
it's more than CAD but less than USD
okay, so
at
it's
the moment
in the
anyway.
middle. Okay, gotcha.
I
Interesting.
think typically what you can do is 100 yen is a dollar. That's the easiest way to think about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not.
Drop or stick a decimal point two in, and there you go.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. So,
Yeah,
yeah, talk about your podcast really quick.
yeah. So, me and my coworker, he's not my coworker anymore. My co-host,
Co-host. Yeah.
Jordan, run a podcast where we just kind of talk about our lives in Japan. Like sometimes we'll have hard uh topics where we've talked before. We had a topic a couple weeks ago about specifically about Japanese TV. We talked about what we don't like, why it's this way, or we'll talk about dating in Japan, or there's a whole bunch of episodes. Like we're 42 today
Hmm.
deep. So if you want something to listen to, you got a plethora of things.
Yeah. Well,
Uh
I think this is definitely a good conduit to going into your
yeah.
channel and actually like just seeing more of the specifics and stuff.
I will say though, maybe not for the faint of heart. We 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 swear like sailors. I'll say that much.
That's fine. I like
Yeah.
it.
So, some people are like, "Ooh, they said the bad word. I can't."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think my audience is pretty cool about it. I mean, I literally announced in the beginning that I uploaded my YouTube or my podcast to Pornhub.
That's true.
So
That's
yeah.
true.
So please check
Okay,
me out on
fair enough.
Pornhub. Yeah.
We're among similar people.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you could shout out to your social
Yeah.
media handles as
So
well, and I'll put them in the description as well.
you can find us on basically any Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just look for Tokyo Fresh Podcast. I have a YouTube channel, which is also a Tokyo Fresh Podcast. We've started putting stuff up there. Some episodes are missing due to copyright claims. When you listen to music and watch videos, that happens. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Our Twitter is Tokyo Fresh Pod, but where we're most active is on Instagram at Tokyo Fresh Podcast. So if you have a message, you want to say hi, you want to look through, send us questions to answer on air, send them there, and we'll look through them.
Perfect. Yeah, and I will also put your stuff in the description, and people could find you there as well. But
Yep.
David, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
No
I had a
problem.
lot of fun, and honestly, if I go to Japan, which I'm planning on too in the future, hasn't been like on top of my list, I'm definitely going to hit you up because I feel
Yeah.
like you would definitely be a good tour guide
I
for the
got a
area.
bed in here that I don't sleep on because it kills my back, so you're free to it.
Is there really the like the closet beds pretty much? You just like open up a closet and there's a bed. Oh my god. Yes.
Got a room in there.
That
No,
is
the
awesome.
bed is too soft, so it just busts my back. So I just ended up
Mm,
sleeping on the floor and use it as a shelf now.
gotcha. Well, hey David, thank you so much for coming on. And hold
Yeah.
on for a second. I'm just gonna hit stop recording right